So in this lesson, I want to talk about how I kind of set up my flipped classroom, how I go about creating the video, and what students do with that. I think that is one of the number one questions that I get asked, and I think it is so important to think about this preparation to set up a successful flipped classroom. So personally, I start with creating a PowerPoint lesson. So that PowerPoint lesson is actually the same type of thing that I did before I flipped my classroom. I created kind of the structure. I put a question on there. I put any relevant images, graphs, anything like that. And then I leave a bunch of blank white space. So when I was presenting this in the classroom, I would project that on the board and then I would just handwrite the answer and kids would follow along with me. So I had that same mentality in flipping my class. I created a PowerPoint. I actually print that PowerPoint out and I give a hard copy to my students because that is what they're going to take notes on while they're watching the video. So again, that has a lot of blank white space where they can fill in their notes and then they bring that to class the next day to help them do whatever we're doing in class. After I've created the PowerPoint, I'm ready to make my video. I use a Surface Pro to create my videos because that has the pen tool and I can ink with that. So how do I do the inking? I actually just present a slideshow in PowerPoint and then I go over to the pen and I turn the pen on and then I just draw on my screen as I need to. And I just ink it up and I solve the problem. To create my screen recording, I use Camtasia Studio. Camtasia has two products, one for the Mac and a separate one for the PC. When I'm using the Surface Pro, I am using a PC, so I use Camtasia Studio to create my recording. I also do use a mic, and the mic that I use is this Audio Technica one, and I've just found that the audio quality is so much better with that. It takes out some of that background distracting noise, and also because I'm writing on the tablet, the built-in microphone would pick up me tapping on the screen, and so I found using an external mic to be much nicer as I've created more videos. So once I've finished making the video, I go and I edit it with Camtasia Studio also, and then I just upload that video right to YouTube. So once the video is in YouTube, I actually pull that into Zaption, which is a very important component of this whole piece because Zaption enables me to do multiple things. The first thing it enables me to do is monitor if the students are watching the video, when they're watching the video, and if they've completed the entire video. The second thing it allows me to do is to add some text side by side with whatever I'm talking about and whatever's going on the screen. So the power of adding some of that text, it just highlights key components for the students, kind of like margin notes would serve in a textbook. And remember that when students are listening to an entire lecture in the classroom, you point out many important parts for them, maybe with hand gestures or just your voice inflection, and you tell them, make sure you're writing this part down so that they are aware of the parts that they need to pay special attention to. And so I really use Zaption and some of the text boxes to serve as further emphasis. I also use embedded quiz types. So there's the multiple choice and there's the short answer types that I use a lot to serve as little learning checks for the student. So when the student answers one of those quiz questions, if they get it wrong, they are cued to kind of replay a portion of the video. And it also gives me analytics before class even starts on if the class needs to discuss something as a whole or if I need to do some individual work with a student. So when students come to class, we start by everybody takes out their PowerPoint and the PowerPoint is filled out with their notes. And we talk about any questions that I identified in the Zaption video that we need to discuss. Any of the short answer questions that I asked usually serve as the basis for our discussion that next day. They're usually those higher order thinking questions that delve a little bit deeper into the topic and things that we're going to deconstruct as a class together. After we do that, students start working on problems. They get to do that in a collaborative setting. So instead of me having to answer all the questions, students are really helping one another solve the problems and work through tough spots. And so that's just a little introduction to how I set up my flipped classroom and some of the essential tools that I use.